Hello Targar friends. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blah here, and it's time for another orc mode workout. And yeah, it's going to be a long one. They're all going to be long at this point because I'm doing a lot more accessory work, and even on the max effort days I am showing my ramp ups on my main lifts, right? I'm not actually showing my warm-ups on any of the other lifts, and the only reason for that is that these videos are just getting too long. And if I showed you guys my 3 warm-up singles going into my pause bench after doing this, or for my incline or everything else, we would just be getting into redundancy because these are already long enough. So we just go to the work sets, but I'm counting for my max effort lifts. The ramp ups are part of the training, right? So we are counting that because we do slowly ramp up because I make 10-pound jumps. And today I did the floor press reverse band. Now, there's almost no tension at the lockout, right? And the reason I know that is because the bar just easily drops into the J-hooks, just the empty bar. So there's very, very little there. I mean, they're touching, but as you guys can see, there's not a lot of tautness. I really don't know how much it's taking at the lockout. I really don't know. And it's not really that relevant because we know that my max floor press was 315 last time I checked it, right? And so I'm going to have a baseline for that because I'm going to be testing it also. The floor press is going to be in this rotation. So what I'm probably going to do is use 3 forms of floor press, including just raw weight, and then 3 forms of accommodating resistance for the bench for my max effort work for now. And I'm just going to do my normal bench is back off work so that we stay strong at it and we rotate through all of these. And what people need to remember with this system, what you're trying to do is, of course, hit a PR every time. Now, I actually had to ban a few trolls in yesterday's workout because they're coming, oh, you don't understand the purpose of max effort in West Side. It's like, I probably understand it better than you guys do because I have a background in training. I've been in the game a very long time. So just because people who've done this system think that it has a certain effect in their body doesn't mean that's what's happening. They just know how their body has responded. But the point is, when you are dealing with a system like this, there is a psychological effect of, if you're coming in and PRing all the time, it's fun. It keeps you motivated. It keeps you motivated because if you're taking enough time through each of these variations that every time you do it again, you've hopefully gotten stronger, because they are strength testers. And that's what people need to remember. Yes, there's a strength building component to ramping up to a max, but the training effect of that is not actually massive to only do it once a week. It's a very, very small training effect. These are mostly strength testers, and to look and see what's happening with your strength curve and to have a positive psychological influence because you're coming in and hitting PRs all the time, right? And you're not going to necessarily deal with, again, the law of accommodation because you're doing slight variations all the time. You're kind of getting around that law of accommodation. And then you're not as worried about it with some of your accessory work. Although if you get really stale on accessories, what can you do? You can rotate those in and out too. I might have to do that even with my J-arm presses. I don't want to, but I also think that because I'm doing so much more volume before my J-arm presses, that's why they've stagnated a little bit, because I'm adding extra lifts now before them. And so I'm probably a little more fatigued, but they haven't decreased. They just haven't increased in the last week. But with this, it's getting up there. That one felt fairly heavy, but I felt like I had a little more in the tank. And what I'm doing the first time through with each of these variations, I'm establishing a good solid max, tracking it on the spreadsheet, and then when I get back around to it the next time, I want to try to beat that. And that might not sound like a lot. People be like, oh, you're only beating a lift once every 6 or 7 or 8 weeks. Every time you do it again, you beat it by 5 pounds or 10 pounds. It's like, yeah, but what happens when you do that for a year straight? All right, that starts to become substantial amounts of strength increases. And then you plot that out over time. And then I'll eventually, every now and then, test my actual real competition lifts. But for now, we can estimate them enough that we can stay in the groove of hitting at least 90% on those. So that was 350 with whatever amount of band tension. And it's not that relevant that I have it pinned down on bands exactly. Chains, I like to know exactly. The bands, I just need to be in the ballpark. I need to be in the ballpark. But as long as I'm consistent with the way I do the band tension each time, it's still fine for tracking purposes. We just know that when I do off of a reverse band, blue band, my floor press is 350 right now. So pause bench, worked with 320 today. I did 3 singles as back off work. And I think it's fair to say this is at least 90%, right? I don't think anyone out here thinks I currently bench more than 350, right? I don't think my bench is higher than 350. And so we're working above 90%, which is kind of what I want to do. That's more or less what I'm doing on all the max effort days. I will rotate through the true max lift. And then I will practice my main lifts. So it's going to be squat, bench, and deadlift, right? And they're going to be the meat legal versions. And I'm sorry, guys, there's going to be some noise in the background. They're clearing dumpsters out, and it's taken them like 20 minutes to do it. I don't know what the deal is, but I'm just going to keep voicing over because I need to get this footage up. And so, again, we want to get these actual competition lifts in. You want to get the competition lifts in. And it kind of raises a point, too. People will keep asking, you know, when are you going to compete again? I'll compete when I'm ready. I feel like right now, the point I'm at, I don't want to show up at competitions and not place really well. Like, I don't want to walk into a meet and not qualify for nationals or anything like that, right? So at this point, it's just going to be train, base build, get as strong as I possibly can. And I need to remind people, because this keeps coming up, people are asking about cutting, and it's like, I'm going to state this again, assuming that anyone actually cares, then they probably are hopefully watching my workout videos. And if you guys who watch these regularly see the dumbasses asking that, you explain it to them, right? Just explain it to them in the comments. I've cut last year. Powerlifters do not cut the same as bodybuilders. I don't ever plan on cutting to a body weight I'm not going to stay at, right? I'm not doing bodybuilder cuts to where you cut 40 pounds and then you get fat and regain all your water and do all that, guys. I'm a master's lifter at this point. I can't be doing all this massive bulking and cutting. I need to be doing recomps or slow cuts. I'm not trying to get contest shredded, and if I did, I would have to stay there. That's kind of the point. Like, why would you rip down and lose strength and then just regain the weight? That doesn't make sense for an athlete either. Athletes don't do that. That's bodybuilder mindset. So for me at this point, I need to stay at this body weight and recomp and get as strong as I possibly can at this body weight, and then reassess, do I need to cut further? But I dropped 40 pounds last year and I haven't regained it. I know people try to say, well, you did regain. No. That's what happened at the end of cutting. You always regain a little weight when you go back to maintenance. That was all last year. I haven't gained any weight this year. I don't go more than 1 pound heavier at any given day of the week than I was like on January the 1st this entire year. So I'm staying right in a couple of pound range, up or down. And that's where I've stayed. So I'm at maintenance calories, and I do keep up with it. I track everything, and I actually do straight keto these days. So that's pretty much what I'm doing, guys. And when I get suitably strong, I will reassess if I need to cut further or keep recomping. Because ideally, you know, if you're going to compete, what do you need to do? You need to be the shortest and leanest guy in your weight class at any meet. I mean, ideally, if you want to be realistic at what the research and data shows, the shortest, leanest guy always wins in a weight class. But to be in the weight class and to be, you know, do that, you need to be as thick as possible. You need as much muscle as possible. So this is where all the additional volume training comes in. Now, I'm going to state, these incline benches, this is tough. It's hard getting used to doing these right now. And because I'm doing so much other pressing before I do them, even this 225 is challenging for sets of 8. And because I'm pulled in tight, scapular retraction. Now, why scapular retraction? Well, the incline bench has the potential for more range of motion with a deeper stretch on your upper chest and stuff than your flat bench. So if you're not going to get the additional range of motion benefit, don't bother with it. It's a waste of your time. So that means keeping those scapula pulled in tight so you can get a good stretch. And I definitely feel it. It's working the hell out of my chest. But because I'm doing the other pressing first, it's tough. Like, I feel that fatigue kicking in. But it's not like a complaining, oh, I'm going to whine and cry. It's not like I'm tired, because if someone will catch that when I say that I'm getting fatigue, you know, after so many sets in my workout. Like, are you tired? Is your testosterone low? It's like, no, it's because I did a bunch of work. And I'm trying to do more work. And quite frankly, after doing a bunch of heavy benching or a bunch of speed benching, doing incline, it's harder than if I walked in and did it fresh. It feels hard. But I'm going to have to just work at it, right? I'm going to have to work at it. Since I'm not bulking, it's going to be a slow process. But that work capacity will build. And as I get better at doing the incline, and it's going to be slow, It'll add meat in the right places. It'll add muscle in the right places. Just again, the additional training volume, the additional workload will help me recomposition, and it'll help me thicken up in my chest and put a little more focus in the upper chest and the delts and the triceps and all that stuff. And it's just a real good accessory movement for a while. And since I'm not particularly good at it, and I do feel it working those areas heavily, I know I've got some muscle deficiencies. So it'll keep me good at my pause bench. It'll make sure my chest and everything is coming along with it, so that I can keep doing this other focus on triceps with the JM presses. But the JM presses, so we did 5 sets of 10 on this today, same weight I did the last 2 workouts. But I've added in another press beforehand. So it's realistic that I'm not going to be able to increase this, because I'm adding more training volume and hitting PRs more and more before doing this. So this went up for a while every week, but now it's going to be slower, right? It's going to be a little slower because I'm doing extra work in front of it and PRing every time. It is going to make it harder to progress on these accessory movements deep in the training, but that's okay, because even if for a little while the volume stays constant on a major accessory movement that you're doing for, 5 by 10, but you're PRing everything before it, what does that mean? It means you're still getting more total work, more total fatigue, and your weak links are getting trained. And if it stagnates too long, I'll find a suitable substitute and we'll work on that until that stagnates, and then come back to this. But I'm happy with it for now. It's working. It's doing the job. I feel like my triceps are getting stronger. All my pressing strength is going up a little bit, which is what we want. Just a nice steady progression. And it's not always going to be fast. Although sometimes it seems like it's fast. Some people said, actually, your strength's going up pretty good. And it's going up at a reasonable rate at this point. And a lot of it has to do with, number one, my body's finally getting used to being at this body weight. I'm also getting really adapted to the diet, so everything is kind of dialing in, and I've really got my fatigue management on point. So I'm handling my fatigue in my life and everything well, and so I've got a good balance. So it's letting me just continue to slowly increase the workload. And again, if I can stay at maintenance and stay at a similar body weight, and we can keep increasing strength and work capacity and all of these things, the benefit will be a nice little slow recomposition. We'll gain a little bit of muscle in the different places as I'm working it. And if I'm gaining a little bit of muscle and I'm at maintenance, it'll start trimming the body fat down, and we just keep working and just keep improving. So yeah, the volume and things are going to go up. I'm going to be adding more and more accessories. Like most of my major accessory things, I'm doing about 10 sets a week, and that'll be the goal. In addition to all my max effort work and my speed work, which is actually a fair amount of work. It's not an insignificant workload. And then my back off singles on the squat, bench, and deadlift that we do, it's going to get to a point to where it's like, okay, I need to do, make sure I do 10 sets of something for my hamstrings every week, 10 sets for my quads. So that's where like the belt squats and the glute ham raises kick in. Up to 10 sets of incline every week. 10 sets of side laterals, 10 sets of face pulls, 10 sets of curls, 10 sets of a tricep exercise. And that's kind of the point. It's just getting all this extra work in to make sure that we thicken up in the right places, because I need to make sure that the different muscles that could be a weak link, that they're strong in the right joint angles, that they're bigger, and that I'm maximizing overall size, because size will carry over to the strength. It's a prerequisite. So what we're doing is we're looking at everything. We're training maximum strength, we're training speed strength, and then trying to be maximally big in all the primary movers and secondary movers on all these exercises. So it all balances together and flows, and you make it work into the programming. So there's a lot of different elements that you need to address. Again, if you're trying to be as strong as possible, you're going to have to get as thick as possible, and you're going to have to train maximum strength. You're going to need to train these different things. But the thing is, it's fun. This is a fairly fun form of training, because there is a lot of flow to it. There's a lot of different variation, even though a lot of what you're doing is so similar day in and day out. There's enough variation with it that it's fun. You hit a lot of PR. Speed work is actually fun, playing with the chains and the bands, and so the training doesn't ever feel stagnant. And then a lot of this accessory stuff you do at the end, different things that you do to just to thicken up. I mean, they have just a different feel. And because if you're rotating them and only doing maybe 5 sets for something, it's not like the whole boring bodybuilding type crap where you're coming in and doing 15 sets for one muscle in a day, and it just gets boring. With this, you know, you do your 5 sets and you go into a different exercise, totally different muscle, and so it works out well when you have it split up like this. So I don't mind doing 3 different accessories of 5 sets of 10 because they're different movements, and, you know, I'm changing to something different. It keeps it interesting. And if any of them stagnate or I get bored with it, I'll pick something that will do the same job as it and move over to that. But someone had actually said, hey, you know, one of my regulars, shout out to the Bald Buffalo or whatever name he uses. Pretty strong dude, pretty strong bencher. He said, you know, you can do those with 2 arms. You can just put a foot in front of the other. Well, number one, I would need 2 kettlebells of the same weight, and I have a set. I don't have 2 matching kettlebells. And number 2, there would probably be one of Athlean X's fangirls might watch my channel also, and they would try to turn it into a one-legged exercise and think they could superset lunges with it or something. And so I don't want to, you know, put that sort of bad influence out. And I don't want to go buy a second kettlebell of the same weight. So I just do them one arm, and it's a good oblique workout thrown in there. So a little bit of oblique training to go with my shoulder training. But again, this is a great overall exercise. You know, it's working my side delt, rear delt a little bit, works the upper traps. Just making sure that I'm thickening up my shoulder girdle, making sure that it's getting development, particularly when I'm not doing much in the way of overhead pressing now, while I'm doing a lot of incline. So this makes sure, this is just a finishing touch to make sure my shoulders are getting plenty of workload. Then I messed with strict curls. All right, the first 2 of these didn't go on camera. I was trying to mess with the belt and trying to get used to it, and I figured out with the first set, the belt sucks. And in competitions, they're allowed to wear a belt, right? Competition, they're allowed to wear a belt. So I tried it. I'm like, I couldn't get it down. Second set felt better. So then now that it felt good, I started filming. Now, obviously that light, I don't like that light there. So the next couple I moved it over. But these are actually relatively challenging. And I'll do other videos explaining maybe why I selected this lift. Number 1, because it is a competitive lift. Number 2, it will more or less do what I wanted out of the hammer curls because of the really narrow grip you use on it. You know, so I figured, what the hell, let's do something a little different. Still getting the bicep and brachialis training in that I need, but I'm messing with something that is a contested lift. And granted, I need to reread in the rules close and see exactly how that works in case I ever do choose to do it. But this is close enough for training purposes just with volume that I think it'll be perfectly fine just for training, even if it doesn't look exactly like whatever their meet requirements are. And it's just something a little bit different, and it's fun. It's a little bit different, and it's doing what I need it to do while messing with a contested lift. So I'll train the strict curl for a while. That's something I started doing over a year ago when I was at that other gym, but I haven't really messed with it here and haven't had the space. And I had grabbed a curl bar. I got a really good deal on an 18-pound curl bar. So I grabbed it, and I thought, well, I can start doing these. I just need to figure out a good spot to do them up against my rack. And since my rack is bolted down now, I can do them right up against my rack because I bolted my rack down finally. So it's allowing me to do these, so I'm going to do them. The only 3 sets got on camera. I did 5 sets total, 5 by 10. And I'll probably just start doing these at the end of each of my bench workouts for the extra bicep work because I need it. I need the bicep and brachialis work. And it's, again, it's a contested lift, so hey, that's a plus. That's a plus for me. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.